Hi Tea Society, welcome back to the Antisocial Planet. Today we are checking out IU, the behind the scenes of A Beautiful Person music video. I believe, if not, egg on my face, but I think that's what this is. There's a lot of Korean thrown into this, and I'm just doing my best to try and navigate it as somebody who doesn't speak Korean, and I'm sorry. But I'm excited to get to see some more behind the scenes. I think this will be really fun because there are so many different scenes that are going on, and there's such like fun acting moments in it that I feel like there's probably going to be some fun behind the scenes for it. Let's go! Yes, the masks are like something. They look very paper mache, which is like probably the point. Once again. I feel like everyone is like, oh, we have to do a school concept again. I love how she always seems like so focused on like the details of the videos. The one person who just has to walk around with that green screen like thing on their face. Aww. I don't know if it's the actual like actor.
저는 약간 이 내용 뮤비 내용에서 그림자를 맡고 있어요. 빛이라는 개념이 또 따로 있고요. 그래서 늘 얼굴에도 그림자가 한 켠에 있는.
I don't know if I'd be jealous of somebody who just has like a green face for the whole thing.
약간 아웃사이더거든요. 어차피 모두 나한테 신경 안 쓰니까 제가 존재감이
like,
없는.
it's fine.
약간
it's like
아웃사이더거든요.
I could wear whatever because
어차피 모두 나한테 신경 안 쓰니까.
no one's paying attention.
제가 존재감이 없는 애여가지고. I mean, if there's any photo shoot to be tired on, I guess this would be one to be, because the whole point of your role is to look disconnected from everything, and that would be a lot easier if you were exhausted. At least she doesn't have to be like smiling and like over the top with her emotions, because that's not the point of the role. One place for photos, but okay. Seriously, shout out to whoever had to be wearing the green like green screen mask the whole time. 어릴 때부터 늘 그랬다라는 설정이고, 그래서 약간 표정이나 이런 것도 좀 어둡고 좀 예민하고, 쟤는 뭐야? 쟤는 뭔데 저렇게 밝아? 약간 이런 느낌의 연기를 하고 있습니다. 아이, 감사합니다. 올해 아주 세계 행운이 확정.
I've never found a four-leaf clover. My grandma used to carry one around with her though. Just Celtic things. That'd be really difficult if you were tired on set too. Like lay there.
이제 빛이 오는 거죠. 도대체 빛의 그 정체가 무엇이냐 궁금하실 텐데, 딱 아주 잠깐 보여드립니다. 빛의 정체는 과연 무엇일까? 누구일까? 일단 저는 뭔가
한 번 보고 두 번 보고 자꾸만 보고 싶다 라고 생각했을 때 자꾸만 보고 싶은 그 얼굴? 약간 이렇게 좀 접근을 했어요. 저는 일단 제가 노래로 그 재해석을 할 때는 타인인지 자기 스스로인지 그 경계를 좀 이렇게 허물고 싶었어요. 그래서 편곡을 해주신 그 바밍타이거 분들이랑 이렇게 상의를 할 때도 이 노래 가사가 저는 조금 중의적으로 들리는 게 있어서 그걸 좀 살려서 저는 이렇게 거울을 보면서 계속 보고 싶네. 이렇게 가려고 하다가 약간 이런 것도 생각을 하고 그래서 노래를 부를 때는 이게 나 스스로한테 하는 말일 수도 있다 라는 걸 이렇게 여지를 두고 노래를 불렀고 비디오에서도 그렇게 한번 그 스토리 라인을 그렇게 잡아볼까 고민을 하다가 아예 새로운 접근을 저한테 이렇게 제안을 해주신 거예요. 빛과 그림자.
So I'm just like I'm like
근데
more invested in her explanation than I
중요한
thought.
거잖아요. 이 노래에서 보고 또 보고 이건데 빛과 그림자는 서로를 이렇게 딱
I have
마주봤을
thoughts, though.
때 자신의 그 온연한 얼굴을 서로가 이렇게 봐준다 라는 그런 해석을 저한테 제안을 하시는데 그게 너무 신선하고 재밌잖아요. 그래서 그러면 제가 그림자 역을 하고 빈 역할을 할 사람을 생각해보자 했는데 만장일치로 그분이 저기 만장일치로 나왔고 여지가 없을
There's so
거라고.
much background noise too. Okay, before we get into everything else, I do have a bunch of thoughts with that. I think it's interesting too to say that she sang the song with that, leaving open the door of this could be something that is directed at herself, something that could be more of a reflection on someone's like self-love for themselves. And I definitely feel like some of that came through in like the music video, because I talked about the way that like celebrity affects people, right? Of like you lose that anonymity or like any kind of recognition, right? We're saying like this person who is like so vibrant and bright that like everyone is drawn to them, and then it gets to a point where they're so bright that it starts to inconvenience other people in their lives, right? Like they can't build those relationships anymore. And that's very reminiscent of people who are in the spotlight. And IU is someone who has been in the spotlight for a very long time since she was very young, has definitely gone through moments of having so much attention on her. And how do you manage that? Especially when you just see yourself as like a normal person, but there's like the IU that we know of, right? Is like the performer, and then there's who she actually is. It's just like a normal person, right? So it's interesting for her to keep the door open for that, of this could be something that is more self-reflective, or like looking at oneself, of not just the trials of being someone who is like the light in someone else's life, but also seeing that you're not just all shadows. Anyone who's struggled with like mental health or going through a difficult time in their life, or even just feels like they're not entirely like special, right? Like they're so ordinary that they like blend into the background, that it can be encouraging to be reminded that you're not just the shadows in your life, right? You're also those points of light, and you can also bring that light into your own life, right? It doesn't have to be something that is purely based on like external people in your life. You can also be that for yourself. I sat in silence for a while because I was like, I'm too locked in for a second. I'm sorry. I feel like it's like the personification of light.
우와. 잘 지내셨어요? 앨범 중인데요. 무거워요?
It was such a like genuine answer. I'm just like, yeah. I wonder, how do they see out of it? I'm sure that there's like some eye hole somewhere, but like, oh, I guess there's like in the actual eyes, but.
좀 무섭기도 한데요.
맞아요.
A little bit, yeah. It's a little bit uncanny, but. The caption.
많이 웃는 걸 좋아해요. 하나, 둘, 셋.
Cute.
많이 미소가 아니네.
네, 빵 터지는 걸 좋아하시네요.
아름다운 그 모습을 자꾸만 보고 싶네.
Sorry, I got lost just looking at her for a second. Yeah, like it would be so difficult to just like navigate around. That's what I was thinking. Like, how do you see out of it? And it's probably still really narrow. As someone who's performed in masks, nothing that extensive, but I love all the staff were just like, wow. Because I would be too.
모두 사랑하네.
You have to get the lighting right too. Like it has to be like you're like limited in how much time you have because the lighting shift, right? Camera's all up in his face too. I like look, I never performed for camera, so I'd be like except like this, I guess, but that doesn't count. It's all the same thing.
감사합니다. 고생하셨습니다. 감사합니다.
그 모두 다 넋을 잃고 자꾸만 보고
I guess like I was thinking too, I'm like, I understand like casting him, right? Because he's an actor and he's a really well-known face and like I can understand like how he fits into the role really well. But it's also clever in terms of scheduling that you don't have to show his face for the majority of this, right? Like trying to get the scheduling right with him probably would have been a lot easier when you're like, oh, we're gonna have somebody else acting with a mask on for the rest of this part. So you really just need him for that reveal on the rooftop, which was probably also a bit of godsend in like actually being able to schedule him for that part. I don't know what his schedule is. I just know that I'm like, oh, I know he's been like, he's acted in a bunch of things and he's also like in an idol group. Like I've also heard of him as just like a celebrity, right? So it was probably like a way of being able to get him to be on in this music video is probably also being like, we don't need him for that long, right? It's interesting how they scheduled out everything too for like the lighting, like doing an indoor shoot that's like later in the day. This is way nicer than any of the lecture halls I was in at university. I love how she like slides out of the seat too.
보고 있네.
가십니다.
고생했습니다. 고생했습니다.
고생했습니다. 고생했습니다. 고생했습니다. 고생했습니다. 아이, 고생했습니다. 빨리 끝나서.
그러니까 이런 현장은 소중해.
이런 뮤직비디오는 데뷔하고 처음인 것 같은데.
네.
열심히. 근데 너무 잘해주셔가지고 바로바로 이렇게
네, 좋아.
넘어갈 수 있게 됐어요. 내일 모레인가요? 파이팅 하시고.
네, 모레. 놀러 오세요.
놀러 가요?
논산이라서 놀러
이걸
안 가요.
포기하고
그러니까 찍고 바로 오시면.
알겠습니다. 들어가세요.
고생하세요. 감사합니다. 고생하셨습니다.
Yeah, busy schedule.
고생하셨습니다.
Like from beginning of day all the way into the night, and then you're like going to doing a bunch of other
실종
promotions.
아동을 찾습니다. 위 어린이를 목격하신 분들께서는 가까운 파출소나 112에 신고 바라며 실종 아동들에 대한 많은 관심 부탁드리겠습니다.
Not sure why that didn't have captions, but yeah, I think it shows like how much promotions and stuff that she was doing. Obviously, doing a bunch of things for filming and like I was saying, like trying to like schedule things and like when you were going to have guest people there and also getting the scheduling right so that you can tell the story properly for the actual music video. And I also think it's interesting again that you can get around some of that scheduling because you don't have to see their faces for all of it. I'm just thinking like we didn't see some of the stuff where they were like walking around the streets, and I don't know if that's because they had stand-ins for that to like again for like scheduling reasons, or it was just like filmed on like a different day or whatever, but it is like a way of getting around that. Like, yeah, it's like great storytelling in terms of just like wearing the mask, and because of that they can feel more comfortable with themselves, and then the mask comes off to show their true selves. I understand like the poetic side of that, but it also is probably like just a workaround for some of that you're like, oh, no one has to see their face, so we can work around when we actually have people there, especially like, again, scheduling, timing wise, budget wise. It was probably like a great way of being able to get around that. But it's also just like a fun music video. Like, I think there are so many interesting, fun bits of this. Obviously, this video is more focusing on the behind the scenes that like IU, right? But there are like all the other parts with the going through the different ages and the different sets and having like costume things and all of that. There was so much work that was put in by all of the like team and stuff, and I just like them like cheering them on. You really need that when you're working on stuff, is to have people who can hype you up about your performance, because they're very long days, and sometimes you just need a little bit of that like morale boost when you're in the middle of stuff. I also just really like seeing how involved IU is, right? And I know that she is. I get that as someone who's been listening to her music for a while, and I've seen like other stuff from her, right? I'm not new to IU, but just seeing how involved she is, how meticulous she is, how interested she is in all of the little details and ins and outs of a music video is just always something that like I really appreciate as someone who, you know, not only enjoys her music and the music videos that she puts out, but also has a bit of a background when it comes to like performance and music and stuff, that it just makes me happy to see someone who like cares that much about the minute details of a performance, and it's stepping a little bit out of what she's expected of doing, right? Because like she's there to be the performer, to be the star of the music video. She doesn't necessarily have to be there for all those like meticulous little details. I really like being reminded of it, right? That she is, right? We saw it with Never Ending Story, where she was like, my eyebrows aren't quite right. That's such a tiny little thing that it shows like how much she's curating some of that, and like wanting to know like exactly what the shadows like cast on her face are going to look like in the shot, and so she can gear her performance around how her face is going to be presented in that. And like looking back on like the playback and stuff, I know lots of performers do that when they're acting anyway, but it's just, again, having those like tiny little details that you really want to be involved with. And just like the storytelling, where I had all these ideas of what the story, what the narrative was from my perspective, as reinventing this song from redoing it, of what the story, the narrative of these lyrics was going to be from my perspective. And then that shifted when we got to like actually discussing the music video, and again, just like seeing how involved she is and like what the stories are going to be. I like it. I like seeing it. It's nice to see someone who's so involved, and especially with someone with as much experience as IU has. She doesn't have to prove that she should have that kind of like input, I guess. She has definitely earned the experience and the expertise at this point to be involved in like lots of different facets of like how she's going to present her music. So it's just always nice. I like seeing behind the scenes. I like seeing like the ins and outs of some of it, even if it's just like a little snapshot of what that experience is. It just fascinates me. But I hope you enjoyed watching that along with me. You can click this playlist to go into my previous reactions, or you can subscribe to me next time I post an IU reaction. I will see you in the next video. Bye.